Hello, friends. Planning an episode to follow the Heaven series was interesting. Nothing compares to the hope of heaven, our North Star for those who grieve. Everything else pales in comparison. So where do we go from here? It was exhilarating and exhausting all at the same time to write the content and then deliver it to you. I could talk about heaven for endless hours. So I decided to share some comments that I received from you about the Heaven series. And then I'm going to take you through Jeremiah's story. We're going to talk about the stages of grief, but not the way you think. So stay tuned to find out.
Are you lost in the chaos of grief, struggling to find your way in the darkness? Are you asking yourself, will I ever be able to enjoy life again? Are you wondering where God is right now? Welcome to the Grief Mentor Show. This podcast is a safe place for you. It will shine a light into the shadows, helping you discover that joy and pain can coexist, that you still have purpose, and there is a path to peace. Hello, friend. I'm Teresa Davis. I, too, was lost in the chaos of grief the day my son died. Just like you, I longed for peace in this unfamiliar world. I longed for the weight crushing my chest to be lifted so I could breathe. I clung tightly to the anchor, and it was there that I discovered the tools I needed to navigate life after loss. And I'm ready to help you do the same. If you're ready, I'm holding my hand out to you, friend. Let me show you the way, one step at a time.
Have you submitted the registration to attend the first live Q&A session with me, your grief mentor? If this is the first time you've tuned in to the podcast, I will be hosting a community for bereaved parents once a month where you can submit a question about your pain point or struggle of grief. I will answer them in the order I have received them, and I'll get through as many as possible in our time together. The only requirement to attend is to be a Grief Mentor Insider. You can join my newsletter on my website or at the link in the show notes. And my newsletter goes out on Tuesday mornings, the same day, basically same time the podcast airs. The podcast comes out at 5 a.m. I release my newsletter at 5 a.m. as well. Inside that newsletter is a link to submit your question. If you're not ready to submit a question, don't worry. Just check the box to let me know. But go ahead and fill out the rest of the form. It has 4 quick questions. The first session is March 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, there's no charge to you for this service, so don't delay in responding to get your question in. I look forward to meeting you. This is a safe place for bereaved parents, okay? There will be no pressure whatsoever to participate in any way. If you're there to be with other parents who get it and you just want to soak it all in, that is actually part of the reason why I wanted to start this community. A few weeks ago, I had a glitch with my email server. So some of you may have tried to join my newsletter and you got this message that said my account had been suspended. It took a little bit to get fixed because it was deep inside my website. Something glitchy happened, but it's all fixed now. So I apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused you, but give it a go again. All is well. I asked you to reach out to me if the Heaven series helped you in any way. And wow, you warmed my heart by your comments. I'm so thankful that you took those few minutes, because it's not lost on me that when you are in the throes, especially of early grief, everything is exhausting. So taking the time and the effort to send those messages to me, I just want to say thank you. And I want to share a few of those today with you. Matthew said, I needed to hear your podcast today. Thank you. That was in response to episode number 1. Is heaven real? If so, where is it? 3 facts that lead to peace. Friends, that episode came from my desperate desire to know exactly where heaven is. If heaven is real, then where is it? Was some of the conversations that took place between me and God. And he took me on a journey to answer that question. And I share that journey with you in that podcast. Angelica said, "Thank you. I love to hear your podcast. It's helped me knowing that I'm not the only one that question God." Friends, I hear this so often, that listening to the podcast has given people permission. They feel like they need permission to question God because we've all been taught that it's such a bad thing. So Angelica shared that with me. It warmed my heart. Guys, I have been completely honest with you on my path of grief, the way that it's taken me, because I was really very angry with God. I was hurt and extremely disappointed, just like many of you. And it took me a while, about 18 months to 2 years, to work through that anger. I'm all about being as real as I can on the podcast, because I'm not here to act like I have it all together when I don't. And even when I started this podcast 2 years ago, I did not have it all together. And hearing people respond to me and say, I didn't want to tell anybody, I didn't want to verbalize that I questioned God, but secretly I did. Grief is by nature so isolating. And when you have thoughts and feelings that you think are unacceptable to the masses, it just makes you want to hold them in even more. And just giving her the permission to say, you know what, I felt that way too. Man, that just warms my heart and my soul, because it didn't stop there. I didn't stop my grief journey right there. Many do, but I didn't stop my grief journey right there. I sought him in a way that I've never sought him for the answers. And that episode about where is heaven, that was a very impactful time in my journey. And I wanted to share that with you because maybe it might help you too. Because my goal here, friends, is to make sure that you know you're not alone. Rachel said, "What a beautiful episode filled with hope. Being reminded of heaven, thinking and imagining what it will be like is something I've never held more closely. Thank you, Teresa, for this powerful episode." And that was in response to episode number 3 in the Heaven series, Find Courage in These 4 Facts, Your Child's Life in Heaven. Do you want to hear the definition of courage? The ability to do something that frightens you. Strength in the face of pain or grief. Friend, it takes courage to live without your child. The reason I titled that episode with that word courage is because we need to be encouraged to have courage. Did you get that play on words? The root of the word encouraged is courage. We need someone to help us see past the pain, because it's not easy to do that on our own. Cassius said, "Thank you, dear Teresa, for helping us grieving mamas and daddies to connect the dots in this grief journey. May the Lord continue to use you mightily." This was in response to the last episode, number 4, 3 Convincing Truths Your Child is Living in Heaven. Living in a state of turmoil about where your child is spending eternity will keep you paralyzed in your grief journey. The despair of not knowing is devastating. I spent more time writing this episode than any of the other episodes because I wanted to get it right. I wanted to ease your mind, if this is you, but not mislead you with untruths just to make you feel better. To answer the question, where's my child spending eternity, I turned to the Word of God to see what He had to say about it. Because that's what will bring you peace. Not my words, but His words. So if that's where you land today, go catch that episode. Natalie says, "Thank you, Teresa. I was so blessed by your message. I pray for peace for myself and every parent that is experiencing loss. This was in response to the first episode, Is Heaven Real? If so, where is it? 3 facts that lead to peace. Peace. That's what we all want and need, isn't it? Peace to finish our race well. When I finally was able to soak it in that Andrew wasn't coming back, I had to find a way to live the rest of my life on this earth. For me, it took a while. And I think maybe if you and I were sitting across from each other, you might be nodding your head in agreement that it took you a while as well. The devastation of child loss is so severe, some never reach a place where they can face reality. It keeps them paralyzed in a state to where they can't function. And friend, that's an awful place to be for the rest of your life. If this is you, please book a call with me today. We need to talk about that. Finding purpose to continue life after our child dies is essential to learning to live in the tension of what was and what is. Nothing takes away the pain of living without your child, but finding a way to process the pain, that's what leads to living again. Every single one of us have a choice to make about how we process the pain, and not seeking a way to process the pain is still making a choice. Refusing to process your grief does not honor your child. Have you thought about that? How you live your life is a testimony to the legacy of your child. Let that soak in a minute. I'm here for you because I couldn't do it alone. And I know that you cannot do it alone either. Friends, we spent more time on this actually than I anticipated. It must have been where we were supposed to go today. I'm not going to be able to get into Jeremiah's story. We've run out of time, so I will save that for next week. I've avoided the grief stages on my podcast because honestly, I didn't find them to hold true for my grief journey, but I have an interesting twist on the grief stages through the eyes of God's Word, and we're going to visit that next week. Today, I want to leave you with a virtual hug and a big thank you for reaching out to me with your comments because it encourages me to keep going. There's that wordplay again. It gives me courage to continue bringing you the content that you need to shine the light into the shadows of your grief. Do you need a little more guidance than you can get from the podcast? I'm here for you. We can walk through your personal grief journey and find a way to process your pain that leads to living again. Go to thegriefmentor.com work with me page and book your call today. And that's all I have for you today. So until next time, take care. Did today's episode touch your heart? If it did, would you take a moment and leave a review on Apple Podcast? I read every single one. Scroll all the way down past all of the episodes till you come to a place where you can leave 5 stars. And would you go a step further and write a written review? It would mean the world to me if you did. Would you mind to share today's episode with somebody that you know that needs a ray of light in their grief journey? I would so appreciate it if you did. From my heart to yours.